Now in this session, let us see how to design an interface which acts as a mediator in between CPU and the peripheral devices. As you can see here, there are many peripheral devices, input devices and output devices. If you want to communicate with the computer system, you do require a peripheral device. But you know that there is no way we can directly communicate with the computer system because there are lots of differences in between peripheral devices and the CPU. You know that the types are different. That is, peripheral devices either electromechanical devices or electromagnetic devices. But when it comes to the CPU is only electronic device. So here we need to have a signal conversion, one signal to the another signal. Peripheral devices releases only electromechanical signals or electromagnetic signals, but CPU releases only electronic signals. So we need to convert the signals from one signal to another signal. For that, we do require a mediator. Data transfer rates. You know that common sense that peripheral devices sends and receives the data usually very slow when it compared to CPU. But CPU sends and receives the data very fast. So here there should be a device which actually acts as a mediator who can control the flow, who can control the data speed rate. So for that also we do require a peripheral device. Okay, and of course when it comes to the unit of information, peripheral devices uses bytes and CPU memory uses words. So there will have to be a transfer between bytes and words. When it comes to the operating modes, peripheral devices are asynchronous to the CPU and memory, CPU registers and memory are synchronous. So when you want to establish a communication, both devices must be synchronized. Peripheral devices must be synchronized with the CPU. So for this reason, for all these reasons, to handle all these dissimilarities, what we do is we are going to use and design an interface which is going to act as a mediator in between CPU and peripheral device. Okay, here you can clearly see there is a processor and there are several peripheral devices. Okay, but did CPU directly have a connection to the peripheral devices? No, CPU did not connect to the peripheral devices directly. You can clearly see there is an interface, right? Using an interface, CPU will be able to communicate with the peripheral devices. Okay, if you can actually see, there is a bus system. We used a bus system to connect to the peripheral devices. The bus system has several lines. One is data bus, one more is address bus, and the third one is the control bus. Okay, now let us have a look at how these will work. Every peripheral device will be having its own address. Let us say the address range for these peripheral devices will be equal to, let us say, 100 to 200. For printer, it is 200 to 300. For magnetic disk, it is, let us say, 300 to 400. The magnetic tape, it is 400 to 500. Okay, so now whenever processor wants to communicate with one device, it is going to send a proper address, and the address bus is going to carry that address. And let us say the address is 249. The address which is now in the address bus is 249, and the data will be available in the data bus. Once again, the moment the processor wish to communicate with one of the devices, first it will load the address with the address bus with the corresponding address, followed by the data will be filled by the corresponding data. Okay, now the data is, let us say, 101011. This data, it wants to this address, it wants to be sent to this address. Now the moment the address bus and data bus having some data, immediately this interface will decode these address lines. All the interfaces will decode the address lines. Okay, only a specific interface will be activated because this address will be falling under that specific interface. all the other interfaces will not be invoked at all. That is, whenever all these interfaces tries to decode this address will be matching to only one address set. In this case, this address is matching to printer's address set. So immediately, this interface is going to activate the data lines. From again the interface to printer, the data line will get activated. Okay, so this is how the interface is going to respond to a signal which is sent by a processor. Okay, now let me show you clearly. This is address, this is data, this is control. This is control bus. We will clearly discuss about these things. So if you want to connect it to a peripheral device, this is a PD. I will talk about this later. This peripheral device one anyhow. Okay. Okay. Now let us understand. Every interface will have a set of registers. That is, this interface has 100 registers. Okay, 100 registers. So some address space is given to this interface. Similar to this interface, the other interfaces also have some registers. Each and every register within an interface will be addressed. Okay, so this is the first interface. Let us see. The address space that is attached to this interface is from 100 to 200. Since there are 100 registers are available. Okay, so the computer system allotted the addresses from 100 to 200. So this is starting from 100. The final register value will be, final register address will be equal to 200. Okay, here the computer system, let us say it sends an address 145. So this interface, in addition to the other interfaces, will initially decode this address part. As you know that this address part is falling under this interface. This address part is not falling under any other interface. So immediately, the moment this address part is decoded and showed that it does belong to the same interface, immediately this interface will be completely activated. The other interfaces will not be activated at all because the address part is not falling under those address spaces. So the moment interface gets activated, what it does is it is going to activate the data lines and the control lines. We'll talk about this control line in a short while. So immediately this data which is available in the data bus will get transferred to that corresponding register. There is a register called 145. To this 145, let us say this is 145th register. From the data bus to 145th register, the data will get transferred. This is how the data will be transferred from CPU to the interface. Again, interfaces will be decoding the address bus. The moment address bus is decoded to one of the interfaces, only that interface will get activated. Remaining interfaces will shut down. Then immediately it is going to transfer the data which is available in the data bus to the corresponding address which is specified in the address bus. That is 145th register in this case. What is this control line? Let us see. Okay, let me show you what is the control line. Address, data, and control. This control line will carry some commands. What could be these commands? These commands could be 4 in type. The first one is a control command. Second one is a status command. Third one is input command, and the fourth one is output command. Okay, now let us say that in order to understand these commands, we will take an example that CPU want to communicate with, let us say, um, what we call, let us take an example, printer. Okay, CPU wants to communicate with a printer. It wants to take a printout. Okay, you know that printer has a controller. Printer has a controller. By using this control command, the motion of the paper will be controlled. Okay, unless we send the appropriate control commands, the paper will not be moved inside the printer, because some mechanical activities should be performed. When printing is performed, paper has to move horizontally and vertically. At the same time, when it comes to a DVD drive, the disk should be rotated, right? As long as the writing or reading is being performed, the disk should keep on rotating and the head should move from one track to another track. So the movement of the head and the rotations of the disk will be controlled by these control commands. Appropriate control commands will be passed to the corresponding devices to perform the controls. Rather, to control those devices when it is needed. For an example, at this case, the printer is being communicated. Now, a printout has been taken. Before you take the printout, you ensure that print will be done. But during the print, paper should be moved horizontally and vertically. But when it comes to the DVD has to be rotated. Let us say writing is being performed. When the writing is being performed, the writing has to be done in several tracks. So the head has to move from one position to another position. All these movements of those components which are pertaining to every device will be controlled by the control commands. So CPU will send the appropriate control commands to each device when they are communicated. Of course, as you know that the way the devices are being controlled are different from devices to devices. These control commands will be different for devices and devices, because you don't need to move the paper in CD drive and you don't need to rotate the printer. So the control commands will be different from device to device. Okay, the next thing is a status command. So here, let us say CPU is transferring 100 bytes of data. 100 bytes of data is being transmitted, okay, from CPU to, let us say, a DVD drive, during which there might be several possible errors. The data might not be transferred due to some errors. So in order to identify those errors, some status commands will be sent. Some status commands will be sent. By using those status commands, CPU will be able to understand if there was error, if there was any error occurred during the transfer. Okay, so that is what a status command. Status command is going to give you the status of a peripheral device while it is being used. Okay, this status may record many of the errors when they occur, when the information is being transmitted. Okay, you know what is input and output? When the input command is passed, peripheral device will act as an input device. When output command is passed, peripheral device will act as an output device. Okay, if you want to try to communicate with a keyboard, input command should be enabled because keyboard is an input device. Then there will be a flow from keyboard to the interface to the CPU. Okay, so the data bus will receive the information from the keyboard. Okay, when there is an output command, of course, you know that the printer is an output device. At that time, the control line will carry an output command, which means that this device is going to act as an output device. Under the specified address, the data which is available in the database will be written. Okay, so that is what input and output commands. This is how an interface is going to look like. This is the design of an interface. Let us stay focused how we are going to design this interface. Before we actually understand the logic of this interface, let us understand what are the various components and entities of this entire interface. Okay, now we can see that there is a CPU. Let me draw a CPU here. There is a CPU here. Okay, CPU tries to communicate with the peripheral device. Here, there are the peripheral devices. There are several peripheral devices. Okay, now CPU wants to communicate with this peripheral device. CPU does need to use an interface. Okay, so now we are designing the interface right away. Let us stay focused. Here you can see there is something called a bidirectional bus buffers. Okay, first you understand entities. We understand each and everything in a short while. This bidirectional bus buffers has been connected to something called an internal bus. This is the internal bus of the interface. Okay, if you want to talk to the interface, you need to communicate with the internal bus system. Okay, this is the interface controller. This is the interface controller. Okay, which has several lines: chip select, register select, read and write. You know what is read and write. Okay, when read is selected, we are going to read the information from the registers. When write is enabled, which means that we are going to perform writing into the registers. Okay, let us see the other entities. There is a transmitter register, there is a control register, there is a status register, there is a receiver register. There are four main registers. One is transmitter register, control register, status register, and a receiver register. And transmitter register is connected to a shift register, and receiver register is also connected to a shift register. There is a transmission control and clock, and there is a receiver control and clock. This is the entire interface. Once again, there is a bus buffer to start with, and there is an internal bus to the IO interface. This is the control unit. This is the controller rather of the interface. There are four inputs to the controller. One is chip select, register select, read and write. Transmitter register, control register, status register, and the receiver register. Transmitter register is connected to shift register. Receiver register is receiving the information from shift register. Okay, now let us understand in what way this is going to happen. CPU want to transfer, let us say. Okay, that is CPU want to take a printout from the printer. Now CPU is trying to communicate with the printer. Okay, for that CPU needs to send the data, output data to the printer. We will talk about this later. Let us see how this is going to happen. Initially, the CPU is going to send the data into the bus buffers. Okay, here bus buffer is going to store the data because CPU is going to send the data very faster, but the printer cannot print the data at the rate of the CPU. Printer is going to receive the data very slowly and gets the printout very, very slowly. So the CPU is going to send the data in one rate and the data will be received at another rate. So what we do is we use a bus buffer in which data will get accumulated. Okay, data items will get collected and one by one it will get sent to the printer. Let us take that. Now I want to send a data word to the printer. From the bus buffers to transmitter register, there will be a byte transferred. One word will get transferred to bus buffer to the transmitter register. Okay, and here we need to understand if the transmitter register is free or not. If the transmitter register is already full, I can't send the data from bus buffer to the transmitter register. So for that, we need to understand if the transmitter register is full or empty. For that, what we do is we will see the status register. Okay, status register, I will write it here. Status register will have 4 digits. 4 digits. One will be used for transmitter register. One will be used for receiver register. Next 2 will be used for recording the errors. Okay. Now, before you send a data item to the transmitter register, you should look at this digit. If the digit is equal to 1, that means that this register is full. If the digit is 0, that means that this register is empty. So, whenever transmitter digit is equal to a 0 in the status register, then we will be able to transfer the data word into the transmitter register. Okay. Now, why do we require a shift register? Why do we require a shift register here? I will let you know. That is, the data will get transferred parallelly to the transmitter register, because by using a bus system, I am transferring the data. But from the transmitter register to the peripheral device, the data should be sent serially. For that reason, I am going to use a shift register. About the serial transmission and the parallel transmission, we are going to understand in a short while when we discuss about the types of transfers. Till then, you understand that till the transmitter register, data can be transferred parallelly. But from the transmitter register to the printer, data should be sent serially. Okay. So for that reason, I'm going to use a shift register. So transmitter register is going to receive the data parallelly from the bus, and it is going to pass the data serially to the shift register. Okay. Then data will be transmitted to the printer. Next thing is, the control unit, this control register. This control register can hold any of the control command which is sent by the CPU. What are the various control commands? The control command is the control command which controls the actual device. Status command, which is going to check the status. The third one is input command. The fourth one is output command. Status register, you know that this status register will record the errors. Okay. And which is going to show you the status of transmitter register and the receiver register as it is shown here. Okay. Here, you know what is shift register? Because the data is needed to be sent and received from the peripheral devices or in serial fashion, we do need a shift register. Okay. So then transmission control and clock. This transmission control and clock will have a look at the transmitted data. That is, the data is being transmitted. It is going to control the transmitted data. The receiver control and clock, it is going to control the data which is being received. Okay. This is how a total interface is going to be designed. Okay. Now for an example, when the keyboard want to send the data, immediately receiver control and clock is going to initiate the data transfer. The moment it is initiated, then the data will be transferred from keyboard to the shift register in a serial fashion. From the shift register to the receiver register, data will be transferred parallelly. From the receiver register to the bus buffer, data will be transferred, and again from the bus buffer to CPU, data will be transferred. Similarly, when you want to send the data, initially data will be stored into the bus buffers because data transfer rates are different from the CPU and the peripheral device. Okay, then when you want to send the data, you are going to check the status register, transmitter register bit. If the transmitter bit is 0, then the transmitter register is available. Then you can send the data from the bus buffer to the transmitter register, from the transmitter register to the shift register, and from the shift register to the peripheral device, data will be transferred. This is how I/O interface is going to be designed. Now let us understand the timing and control. Okay, these are four lines, rather 4 inputs for the controller. In what way this controller will work? When chip select is 0, meaning that interface is not selected, no I/O transmitting is happening. no transfer is initiated from the CPU side or from the peripheral devices side. Whenever a data has been initiated to transfer, this chip select will be equal to 1. This chip select will be equal to 1. Okay. And we are going to see the remaining selection inputs in order to understand which has been selected. If the chip selection is 1, chip selector is 1, and register select is 0, the operation is writing transmitter register will get selected. Okay, that is chip selector is equal to 1, register select is equal to 0. Okay, this combination will select transmitter register. So writing is being performed. What does it mean? When CPU transfers an information into transmitter register, writing will be performed, output is being performed. Okay, and now when chip selector is equal to 1 and register select is equal to 1, still writing will get performed, but CPU is going to send some control information to the control register. When chip selector is equal to 1, register select is equal to 0, then there will be reading operation, receiver register will get selected. Receiver register is going to receive the information from the shift register from the peripheral devices. When chip selector is equal to 1 and register select is also equal to 1, again reading will be performed, but this time the status register, because the status register is going to store the errors as well as the status of transmitter register and the receiver register. Once again, first of all, if we want to ensure that this IO interface has been selected, chip selector must always be equal to 1, right? Okay. In conjunction to that, we will check the register select. If the register select is equal to 0, if the chip select is equal to 1, okay, and write is enabled, then transmitter register will get selected. If both are equal to 1 and write is enabled, then control register will get selected. If both are 1 and 0 and read input is enabled, then receiver register will get selected. If both are equal to 1 and read is enabled, that means that status register will get selected. This is how IO interface will get designed. By using one IO interface, you can connect as many as 8 devices. Okay, this is also called UART, Universal Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter. Okay, by using which you will be able to communicate with 8 input and output devices simultaneously. This is how you're going to design it.